Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. Let me start by first introducing myself. My name is Musa Mushabela. I am a professor of public health and the acting deputy vice chancellor for research and innovation at the university. I have the honor today of welcoming you to this webinar. We will be talking about a new national institute for theoretical and computational sciences. And this is an institute that has recently been signed off by the Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Blade Nzimande. And so we're very fortunate that the interim director at the moment is our very own Professor Francesco, who is today going to share with us the vision and the mission of this institute. This is really important for us because as UKZN, we are really at the moment still at the cutting edge of quantum physics. So, and Professor Francesco, as many of you will know, is a professor of theoretical physics here at the university. And he's also a South African chair of quantum information processing and communication, and under the Department of Science and Innovation and then the National Research Foundation. In addition, he's a pro-vice chancellor at this university for big data and informatics. And you will know that he's very involved nationally and internationally in terms of research and publication around quantum and physics and theoretical physics. So it is my pleasure to welcome him to share with us this vision, and I'm sure as a member of the academy, the National Academy of Science in South Africa, and a fellow of the Royal Society of South Africa, you know, it's really important that we have people like him at this university to share with us things that are at the cutting edge of science that many people don't yet know about. But it's also important that as an institution, we hear more about this and position ourselves in terms of how we're going to engage with this institute, and so that we're not left behind. So Francesco, welcome, and we are very much looking forward to hear what this vision and mission is of the institute, and how, as the University of KwaZulu-Natal, we can play a significant role. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Musa, for the very, very kind introduction. Now that the pressure is on to do a good job. Let me quickly share my screen for the presentation, and then we will be ready to go. So, first of all, good morning, everyone. I wanted to apologize for the short notice for which we announced this webinar, but the speaker that we planned to have today let us down at the beginning of the week, so I decided to use the free slot to share something that will hopefully be very useful for all of you. As you see from the slide, we are in the middle of a transition between the National Institute for Theoretical Physics and a new institute, the National Institute for Theoretical and Computational Sciences, that, like Professor Mushabela said, has been signed off at the beginning of the year by our Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. So what I want to achieve with you this morning is just to bring you in the picture of what this plan is. There is already a detailed roadmap and an implementation plan in place that we have started to implement. And in particular, I want to encourage you to engage with this institute, because it will be a very important pillar in our South African research and innovation landscape in future. Yeah. So let me start maybe with a bit of history, because some of you might not really know what the National Institute for Theoretical Physics was. Yeah, and the National Institute for Theoretical Physics started, so it's a kind of pre-birthday in 2004. Yeah, when the department that was called Science and Technology at the time, NRF, and the South African Institute of Physics commissioned an international committee to write a report on the future of physics in South Africa. Yeah, and this very comprehensive report had one recommendation among many others, and that is that it recommended the establishment of a national theoretical physics facility. Yeah, so this was essentially the reason why government, NRF, DST developed the concept of a National Institute for Theoretical Physics. Yeah, and in 2008, it always takes a time from a document to an actual institute. NITheP was officially launched. Yeah. As the official home for theoretical physics in the country. And there was a very impressive launch event in Stellenbosch with people like Stephen Hawking, David Gross, and many other luminaries of theoretical physics. So it's already started from the beginning at a very high level. Yeah, NITheP, as it existed since the beginning and formally still exists, yeah, is a three-node institution with the main administrative node in Stellenbosch and two other nodes, one at UKZN, we are based in the School of Chemistry and Physics, and one at WITS in their School of Physics. Yeah, and the three nodes focused on different areas of theoretical physics. For instance, at UKZN, as Moza told you, we are more interested in quantum science. At WITS, they are mainly focused about theoretical high energy physics, if you want to call it that way. And in Stellenbosch, they were mainly interested about condensed matter and statistical physics issues. Yeah, so where is NITheP now? And with now, I mean at the beginning of this year, before the transition started, yeah, in 2021. Yeah, NITheP many times, if you look in the various Nature Index, was always ranked among the top institutions in physics in Africa. Since its beginning, it probably published probably just under 1,000 papers. What is probably even more interesting for some of you is that roughly 2/3 of all theoretical physics postgraduate students in South Africa have a link to NITheP. Yeah? And we've graduated over hundreds of students. Yeah, and we have at the moment a network that comprises roughly 90 associates across not just in the nodes, but across the country. And I just put there a number as a typical budget, you know, give or take $1 million more, $1 million less. Yeah. So as I said, it has at the moment around 90 associates. Yeah, and you know, in our context, it's always important to look at the demographics of the associates, and you see we have a long way to go to achieve the proper transformational goals. Yeah, so we are still quite a male-dominated business, if you want, and we're also a little bit too colorless. Yeah. But we are working on that, and this transition to NITheCS will make this transformation probably easier. Yeah, every year we have roughly over the years, this is just statistic of the last couple of years, around 40 students, masters and PhD students. You see here a little dip in 2018, 2019, and that was due. And so maybe I should have told you that, you know, NITheP was born as a national institute, yeah, and the hope was that it would be run like a national facility, yeah. But then for some administrative reasons, it ended up in the Center of Excellence pool of NRF, And as you know, Center of Excellence has a sunset clause. Yeah? So after 15 years, they either become self-sustainable or they should slowly shut down. Yeah? And that's why around 2019, we didn't really know what the future of NITheP would be. It was a little bit on the edge, could have gone either way. Yeah, but fortunately, it went the right way. Yeah, the distribution of the bursary holders, as you see here, is much more healthy. Yeah, and we are still working to make it super healthy. Yeah. And this is also interesting, you know, the bursaries of NITheP are located not just in the nodes, but students are spread across the country. And you see that this is the distribution of our current bursary holders. You see UKZN has a little share, but not the biggest share. So in principle, speaking with a UKZN hat, we could have tried to do better. Yeah, but okay, that's how it went. Yeah, since COVID, we started to be in competition with Data at Breakfast as NITheP or NITheCS, and we moved all our activities online. So we have a weekly colloquium on Monday afternoons at 4. We have a webinar series organized by various associates, and every month we have what we call a mini school, which is a series of 4 afternoons, typically on Tuesday afternoon, on a different topic. And this is really a kind of educational training event. And you see that moving online really let the audience that we can reach, yeah, grow exponentially. Yeah, last year we had 12,000 views. If you count the viewers online and the viewers offline later from YouTube, yeah, and this is really impressive, and it's one of the biggest lessons from COVID. Yeah, so this was roughly where NITheP is at the moment, and now I want to share with you a little bit the road ahead, how we will transition now from NITheP to NITheCS. And you see, I chose a road that has a little bit of up and down because, you know, we have a very detailed roadmap, but you know, every time you plan something, something goes wrong, and we will have to adapt on the way. Yeah, but this is the plan. So the process is started a couple of years ago, and where the DSI NRF organized a kind of a stakeholder workshop to discuss with the community whether there is the need to fight to make NITheP sustainable, in particular in the current very challenging financial situation. Then DSI and NRF appointed an expert working group and a task team, and I will show you later who the members were. And the first job of this expert group and task team was to develop a document in support of the scientific case for NITheCS. Yeah, and that report was well accepted, so that we moved to the second step, which was again a collaboration between the expert working group and myself, with input from the task team, to develop a detailed roadmap on how to transition from NITheP to NITheCS, and also to develop the vision of this new institute. Yeah, so the vision is now, as the name says, yeah, to be a leading institute in Africa for theoretical and computational sciences. Yeah, and so that the vision has essentially 4 pillars. First of all, we are solidly embedded in Africa. Yeah, it must be an institution that is with excellent research and training. Yeah, that's why we already have the mini schools. You know, I used last year to test some of the ideas of the roadmap and assess their viability, and it seems to work very well. And also engagement, yeah, because, you know, we every time you open the news, listen to the news or read a newspaper, there's something about fourth industrial revolution, yeah, and theoretical and computational science is essentially the basic sciences behind the fourth industrial revolution. So there is also a lot of engagement will be needed with all possible stakeholders, yeah, from the learners to attract them to the discipline, to politics, government, and industry, to make them aware of the opportunities that are around. Yeah, the biggest innovation of the new institute is that it will be the home not only of theoretical physics, and this is the graphic out of the roadmap. And so it will be home also to astronomy and astrophysics, which to some extent are already part of theoretical physics, because there are several astrophysicists that are already associates of NITheP, but also the home of statistics, mathematics, data science, all quantitative biology studies, including bioinformatics, quantitative finance, and earth and climate change modeling. So it will be, from one discipline to 8. And in the language of the roadmap, the disciplines are called teams. I will discuss that just now a little bit. So you see, it is a massive increase in the number of people that the institute will address, and that's why there is need also within UKZN. There will be many more people, not just the theoretical physicists that should join this institute, but also people across other disciplines. And of course, at the core of all of this, since we are an Institute for Theoretical and Computational Science, there will be a very strong relationship with our national integrated cyber infrastructure system, and in particular with the CHPC. I just put in as a representative the CHPC, where we could have put the RISA and Sandren there as well, because everybody will make use of those institutes as well. And you see, the institute will be embedded in already an existing ecosystem of other entities that deal and support some of the disciplines and teams that the institute will be involved with. And part of what we have to do now in the transition period is engage with all of them and try to find a way to cooperate and increase the impact of what we do. I mentioned that this circular arrangement is what emerged from the roadmap. But yesterday I thought maybe you can describe it better. and I designed this kind of visualization. Because the point is that the disciplines shouldn't be just slices next to each other. They should really interact with each other. Because we want the total to be much more than the part. So we want all the disciplines to come together, share a strong core, and attack in a multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary way the big challenges of this time. And I will show you at the end an example of this. The institute has the following, is supposed to have the following government structure. Of course, the executive authority will lie with DSI NRF. There will be a steering committee on which the 8 different teams will be represented. So there will be some kind of system to select representative of the various disciplines. There will be a scientific advisory board, and the management committee, including the director, will report to both to the steering committee and access the wisdom of the advisory board. The activities of NITheCS will be, and this is probably a new element that was not yet in the NITheP approach. We will still have nodes, because it's very important to have people on the ground. It's very difficult to do engagement with learners in schools if there is not some structure on the ground, for example. And also we want the same community to come together in the various institutions that will host NITheCS. For instance, if UKZN is a NITheCS node, the NITheCS node will have to be open to all the 8 disciplines as they are represented at UKZN. We will still have a network of associates. And in fact, this week we started the process of approaching associates that are not within theoretical physics, so that slowly the associates network will grow from 100 to probably many hundreds. And the new element is focus areas. Yeah? So NITheCS will work, the NITheCS research will be around focus areas. Yeah? And the idea is that all the 8 disciplines or teams will work together on attacking some big challenges. Yeah? And this will be the focus area. And of course, every 5 years, the focus areas can be reviewed and so on and so forth. So that the concept of focus areas was not really present in NITheP, and will be the main instrument, yeah, for the activities of the institute. Yeah? Of course, there will be nothing wrong if an associate is not directly involved in a focus area, but it will be the instrument to keep it all together. Yeah. So that the reporting lines to the director. You know, I told you that the pillars in the vision are research, training, and engagement. So there will be people in the management in charge of research, training, and engagement activities. We will have kind of operations manager, if you want, and then the head of the nodes, the PIs of the focus areas, and a representative of the associates will also be part of the management team. Yeah, yeah. So this is so in the management committee will be the group of people in the yellow box. Yeah. Okay. So now to the implementation plan and the transition. Yeah. In this transition phase, NITheP is still in operation, also because NITheCS as such doesn't have at the moment a legal framework. Yeah, these things are all in the making. Yeah, so at the moment the contract between NRF and NITheCS is with NITheP. Yeah, but it's that kind of transitional phase where all the legal things also need to be sorted out, and that's also because I'm. My role is that also of an interim director. There will be, as you will see later, there will be a call for a permanent director, and that will come out sometimes this year. Yeah. So after the transition phase, there will be the foundational phase, where the new nodes and the new focus areas will come on board. Then there will be a developmental phase with more nodes, maybe more focus areas, and eventually we will be then the programmatic institute that we envisage. And you see, in every step we added test and learn, yeah, because you know on paper things might always look beautiful, but then the reality might be a little bit different. For instance, last year we were not expecting to have COVID. Yeah, so things happen, yeah? and we need to adapt on the way. Yeah. So the various steps, I illustrated them here. You can browse, but you can imagine, yeah? of the things that need to be done now are all listed here. So you see, it's a lot of different steps, but you know, it's just one after the other, yeah? And one step at a time. Maybe it's nicer to see it in a kind of Gantt chart. You see, now we are in phase 1, and hopefully by June, July, phase 1 will be completed. Yeah. The transition, you know, I didn't mention it, but NITheP has a very small staff complement at the moment. Yeah, there is just me, the deputy directors of the 2 other nodes, and 3 administrative persons. So the transition of the staff is not a big problem. We started now. This is the milestone 1. The transition of the NITheP associates to NITheCS associates, and the inclusion of new associates. And then we will start thinking of putting together a new steering committee, but this is mainly the job of DSI. Yeah. And phase 2 will start probably in the second half of the year, where we will start. I just put there KPIs as an indicator of all the legal background that needs to be done to set up a new institute. We will appoint an advisory board. We will start the search of a permanent director, and then and so on and so forth. So that at the moment, the plan is that at the beginning of 2023, we should be able to have a formal launch with all boxes ticked of the new new institute. My hope is that we might be able to do it in a shorter time. Yeah, and I think we are well positioned so far to achieve that. Yeah. I promised at the beginning to share with you who was involved in developing the roadmap of NITheP. These are the individuals that were part of the task team, and essentially it's a subset of people that were part of the steering committee of NITheP. Yeah, there were the three directors and deputy directors of NITheP. Until last year, Professor Scholz was the director of NITheP, and then until March last year, in April, I took over. Professor Müller-Nedebock is the deputy director in Stellenbosch. Joao Rodriguez is the deputy director at WITS. Then there were the representative of DST, also of DSI, Dr. Adams, Dr. Mudley, and Dr. Happy Sitole as a representative of NITheCS and the CHPC. And I was very glad to see that he joined us this morning. So maybe later we can ask him for some comments as well. And I stressed before, the relation, since it's an Institute for Theoretical and Computational Sciences, the relationship with the CHPC will be, and DIRISA and Sandran will be crucial. And already, you know, in preparation of NITheCS, already 3 years ago, we started organizing summer schools together with the CHPC, and they've been very, very successful. And this year, for the first time, we had it completely online, yeah, and we managed to reach more than 150 students in one go, and it was, I think, a big success and probably a model for the future. Yeah. The expert working group that was appointed by DSI and REF comprises these individuals that represented the 8 disciplines in the proposed new institute. I won't read all the names. You probably can recognize them through the photos, or just browse the. So you see, it was quite a representative cross section of the 8 disciplines in the country. Yeah. I mentioned before that a little bit in passing, yeah, that one of the core instruments of NITheCS will be to operate across focus areas. Yeah, and last year, mainly because of COVID, yeah, because, you know, we had a budget for last year that involved many workshops, seminars, schools, and we were not able to do them. Yeah, so that I decided to test the idea of focus area. Yeah? And we published a call for we call them research programs, because I didn't want to interfere with the vocabulary of NITheCS, while we formally don't have NITheCS as well yet. And so we made a call for research programs, and we just wanted to test the waters, how theoretical physicists would organize themselves in focus areas to work together on relevant problems. Yeah? And I think it was surprising, not surprising, I mean, I was hoping it, yeah, but it was a very successful exercise. Yeah? And probably the research program that came out of NITheP will be closely related to research programs that will hopefully come out from NITheCS. Yeah? So we have computational studies in material sciences. Yeah, and the PI is Eric Maluta from the University of Venda. We have, this is also not surprising, astrophysics because of SKA and HIRAX is a big thing in South Africa. So there is a big coalition of researchers in that area that come together to exploit big data approaches, in particular to analyze the data of HIRAX, and UKZN is one of the leading institutions in this HIRAX experiment. Another very interesting research program is the one about the modeling of genomic contact tracing. Yeah, and this is really very nice because it's really a nice collaboration between theoretical physicists, and bioinformaticians. Yeah, we were lucky that also Professor Tullio de Oliveira agreed in being part of this research program. Yeah? Then, of course, in these times, in the year 2021, a research program without machine learning in the title probably doesn't exist. Yeah, so we also have a research program with many different people involved about machine learning meets theoretical physics. And at the University of Western Cape, the PI, Professor Nico Orce, has a program about big data science to nuclear physics. And last but not least, and although it's not a research program per se, it's maybe the beginning of something that could be a kind of an academy for theoretical and computational sciences. Yeah? At the moment, it's called the South African Theory School, and you see it's a collection of many partners across many universities in South Africa, and more will join, of course. and the idea is to start offering online courses that to facilitate the job of the stressed academics on the ground in the various institutions. Yeah, so to start develop materials that could be shared across the country. Yeah? It's of course important to say that NITheP didn't award any degrees, and NITheCS will also not award any degrees. Yeah, so this is something that will have to grow and have many discussions with all the universities involved, and see what system can be put in place so the students that attend these courses might be able to get credit at their universities, and so on. Yeah. I mentioned before that the NITheCS with this multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary approach, should really tap into the resources of the new associates network to attack the big problems of the times. Yeah? And one example is that NITheCS, yeah, again in collaboration with the CRISP unit at UKZN, and in particular with Professor Tullio de Oliveira and others, we submitted a proposal to DSI to support and investigate pool testing, yeah, for COVID. And pool testing is something that has been around for ages, but recently a fellow South African theoretical physicist that many of you know, Professor Neil Turok, who was for many years the director of the Perimeter Institute in Canada and is now in Scotland, came up with colleagues of his with a new mathematical method to make pool testing more efficient. Yeah? And in their publication, it was just a theoretical concept, but with Tullio, we applied it, yeah, and demonstrated that actually it works even in practice, yeah. And thanks to the funding of DSI, we will now be able to scale it up and really make use of it, yeah. So I'm come to an end of my short presentation. I just was hoping to be able to give you a quick overview of sorry, let me stop sharing the screen, of what NITheP was about and of what NITheCS will be about. Yeah? And you see, if you look behind me, we don't have a logo yet for NITheCS. We started, in fact, a few weeks ago, discussion with some logo designers to let us have soon something that we can then also share with the community, and then put some system in place to choose the logo that we want to identify with. Yeah. So you
thank
see
you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you, Moza. That's
thank you so much, Francesco. We've got about 25 minutes for a discussion, and I would like to take a moment to engage our colleagues. I'm going to invite Professor Happy Stoller to make a comment. So if you can just be on standby, it would be really wonderful for you to take a moment. And then I've also noted some questions from Naledi and Kimara as well, and I'll bring those in. I know, Kimara, you had your hand up earlier on, so I'll invite you to make your comment. But before perhaps I proceed, I just want to take this moment, Francesco, to congratulate you for how far you guys have brought NITheP to this point. And in as much as initially it was a bit of a disappointment, you know, that instead of being an institute, it was classified as a center, and therefore the constraints. I do want to, you know, congratulate you for how far you've brought it, and the fact that probably there is, it formed the foundation for what now is growing to become NITheCS. And in this day and era, it makes a lot of sense for NITheP to grow. So we'll get into a little bit of those discussions, but let me invite Happy to comment, and then we can take some questions.
Okay. Now, thank you, Chair, and thank you, Francesco, for a very comprehensive outline of what the computational sciences in the country would like to achieve. And as you already indicated, we are looking forward as the National Integrated Cyber Infrastructure to be at the core and assist in the development of the computational sciences. We have been working separately with different entities, and my hope is that now under NITheCS, we will have a comprehensive approach on how we develop the computational sciences and address some of the challenges that we have in the country. I think if we look at how other nations approach this, you will see that a coordinated approach bears results and also put the computational sciences in the focus of our government and the funding. And with that approach, it will definitely bear some fruits. I have worked with the computational collaborative projects in the UK. And what I have seen is that they managed to come up with really very good either software or tools that are being used overall. And this is what I'm hoping that with NITheCS we'll be able to get that and also have a sufficient training program. So with that, I would like just to pause there, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And I hope that you can also assist in addressing some of the questions we're going to raise. I mean, the first obvious question, Francesco, is that clearly what you're doing with NITheCS is that you're bringing together a whole lot more players into the same institute. And these are not just people from different disciplines. These are also people from different institutions. And, you know, in general, I would say that, you know, the tradition of academia is that we are used to working in silos, and we protect our specific disciplines. And there is a lot of power play there. That's where we build our empires, so to speak. And of course, you know, we get recognized for building depth of knowledge in one particular area. And that becomes our contribution to science over a lifetime of research and academia and science. So now I'm just wondering, from the experience you've gained from NITheP, now going into NITheCS, what have you learned about bringing together different people and trying to break down these silos? And what is the plan going forward to try and do that? And maybe Happy later, if you can come in also, what have you guys learned from other places where we're dealing with computational science and physics? How are people dealing with issues of silos and power play between disciplines, between institutions?
Yeah, Moza, thank you very much. That's the question that causes my headaches. Yeah, no, it's you know, there are various aspects. I mentioned before that NITheCS will use the tool of focus areas, yeah, to bring together people of different backgrounds, disciplines, or teams, like they're called in the roadmap, to address really big challenges. Yeah. You know, I just want to make a very simple example. Yeah, that's what I hope to scale up. Recently, I got in touch, or he got in touch with me, with our director of institutional planning, yeah, at UKZN. Yeah, and he had a few problems that required some big data competency. Yeah. And for instance, the one example is how to optimize the bus routes of the buses of UKZN to transport students from the residences to campus. So, and that is an interesting mathematical problem. Yeah? And we are in the process of helping them with the tools of big data and computational science, optimize the problem. Yeah? The other problem is again, from institutional planning. UKZN has data about, for instance, every year there are thousands and thousands of repair jobs across campus, across the campuses. Yeah? And there are thousands of data about all these procedures, yeah, and we are helping them. For instance, Kimara that you mentioned is leading in that respect to data mine and see if we can distinguish some trends or something that is not so obvious to see from the data. Yeah? And you know, and what NITheCS has to do, yeah, is to offer this kind of services, not just to institutional planning at UKZN, but maybe to the nation as a whole. Yeah, you know, there are big problems that the country is facing, and we have lots of expertise in the country. Yeah, and I hope that NITheCS will be a home of all this expertise and will access and coordinate maybe the tapping of intellectual resources to address the really big problems.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you are saying that we need to shift from thinking of the way we are positioned. So the different disciplines and players from different institutions, they need to shift from the way that they think of their position in terms of an institution or a discipline, but really focus on the common problem that is in front of them. And when we've got that, when we've identified that common problem, then we can then bring in our expertise from different disciplines to help address that common problem. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And you know, when people join NITheCS, yeah, they need to be ready maybe to give up a little bit of their discipline identity, yeah, because they become members now of a new family, yeah, and every family
that's going to be tough, Francesco.
Yes. No, I know, but you know, there is a very simple.
You know, when you're a theoretical physicist, man, and now you're being told that, you know, let go of that a little bit and see yourself more in terms of a big data problem or a computational science problem.
Yes, but you know, from a very practical point of view, and I hope I don't offend anyone now, yeah. But one of your colleagues, another DVC research of some other university in South Africa that I won't name there, yeah. I discussed it with him as well, yeah, and he told me, you know, academics, we were speaking theoretical physicists, but we probably generalize, are a little bit like cats. Yeah, they're very independent. They do their own thing. Yeah, and there is one trick to bring them together. Yeah, and that is to feed them. Yeah? So if you you know, the focus areas is the tool to finance and support research, yeah, in big problems. Yeah. And by offering funding, yeah, to attack interesting problems, yeah, and the problem, you know, the problems need to come bottom up, because you want people to be interested in the problem, but there needs to be also a little bit of a top-down pressure, because there are maybe urgent problems that need to be made attractive to people. Yeah,
right.
And funding is the instrument. Yeah, so that I'm speaking. I might sound completely cynical now. Yeah.
No, I understand. I think that I will do it for the funding, for the food and the feeding. I'll consider it.
Yeah, no, and it's that's the instrument that NITheCS will have. Yeah.
But I think that for that's the support around the science. But I think that what you've raised as a complex problem that requires different inputs from different disciplines, I think for me it really helps in thinking about how we could bring together people from different disciplines and even different institutions to deal with complex national problems within this institute. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But let me hear from Happy, if Happy you have some thoughts on that as well.
No, I fully agree, Chair, with Francesco. The success of NITheCS for multidisciplinarity will emanate from the type of problems that we choose to fund and solve as the country. Because once we get the problems that are complicated, it will make sure that we get out of our comfort zone and make sure that we reach out to the other disciplines. And this will promote collaboration. But also, I think the other thing that we should also emphasize on is that it should not just be business as usual. And people have to understand that we would like to get some new tools. And those new tools will also have to be transferable and not solve one type of a problem. And if we put also those requirements, that will help our scientists and engineers to think outside the box and make sure that they can have tools that will be multifunction, if I have to use that word. So I think those are some of the things that we should be able to put in our requirements and promote that. I fully agree with you. Collaboration does not come automatically, it comes over time, and there need to be some sort of incentives in there, and some funding conditions needs to be put in there to try and assist us from getting out of our comfort zone.
Okay, great. So we've got some questions specific for UKZN, but let me exhaust the broader questions first. So one of the questions that is being asked is, what then is the ambition of NITheCS in terms of collaborations outside of South Africa? And I'll link it to another question that was asked to say that, are there opportunities here for aspiring scientists who are from outside of South Africa? What's the vision around those two things? And then we'll come back to the UKZN specific questions.
Thank you very much, Moza. And you see behind me in the NITheP logo, there were two kinds of lines, some across Africa and some in the other direction. And that was really the vision that NITheP had to be an institute with a close relationship to the African continent, but also open to interaction with the rest of the world. And the same is of course true for NITheCS. And in fact, I saw earlier, sorry, let me check if it's, in the audience, there is Dr. Pier Guido Sarti of the Italian Embassy in Pretoria. And thanks to him, we already started to engage with an Italian institution in Bologna that has more or less the same scope of NITheCS. And we are looking forward to collaborate with them as well. NITheP had already good relationship with the ICTP, the International Center for Theoretical Physics in Trieste, which is a UNESCO institution. Yeah? And now with NITheC, we'll be even better aligned with that institute, because they are also interested in climate modeling, bioinformatics, essentially all the topics of NITheCS you will find in this UNESCO institute as well. Yeah, and they have also a strong presence all over the world. So we will engage with them, and even look for joint funding opportunities and all of that. Yeah. If you want to feed the cats, you need lots of funding, yeah, and that is a challenge and an opportunity at the same time, because putting together all these disciplines, we will really be able to attack relevant problems. And for relevant problems, there are always many foundations that are happy to assist. Yeah, if you have a reasonable chance of success. Yeah? Absolutely. And that's what we will definitely have to do. Yeah.
So what about aspiring scientists from outside of South Africa? Happy, I'm going to come to you just now. Yeah. What about aspiring scientists from outside of South Africa?
They're most than welcome. And for instance, already now in our webinars and mini school, we have many participants across Africa. Yeah. Just last week, as an aside, was the first ever, or I think on the 14th, World Quantum Day. Yeah. And that's a day to celebrate. It is supposed to become a UNESCO regular event. Right. Yeah? But it happened this year for the first time. And NITheCS also got involved in the festivities. Yeah? And we organized an event with representatives of 8 other African countries. Yeah? Most of them bordering to us, but also there was also Egypt and Tunisia and Morocco. Yeah. So we are well aware of that. Yeah. And that's important to us. Yeah.
Thank you. Happy thoughts?
Yes, no, I wanted to add on what Francesco was talking about with the appetite for collaboration from outside. I think also the UK, as I indicated, they have got almost similar program. They call it the Computational Collaborative Project, the CCPs. And they almost following our same line, and very happy to collaborate with us in this. But what I also wanted to add is that globally, computational sciences are also driven by the computing architecture, and they are getting more complex. And the complexity in this, for an example, now in moving into exascale, it has brought a unified force of collaboration amongst nations to make sure that we have got the computational sciences taking advantage of this development in the computing architecture. For an example, what the guys at UKZN are working on quantum computing, already people are forming units in there to be able to develop new computational sciences algorithms which will take advantage of the quantum computing. So there is a lot of opportunity for collaboration globally.
Thank you. So let's wrap up with some UKZN specific questions. One of the questions comes from Ross, and he wants to know, what is it that, from a strategic point of view, that UKZN needs to do to position itself to fully participate? You know, we participate initially because we've got Francesco, who is very passionate and driven, and then becomes part of this. And then after a while, we lose momentum as an institution. And after a while, we're not even involved anymore. But as an institution, what is it that you would put forward as things that we need to do to position ourselves to fully participate?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And, you know, that's exactly why I volunteered to do this data breakfast this morning. Yeah, you know, first step was an event like this to make everybody aware, yeah, that there is this opportunity, yeah, and then we will the UKZN node of NITheP/NITheCS, yeah, will now have to start to reach out to people working in mathematics, statistics, data science, climate modeling, finance, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and start creating a little bit the environment for such a multidisciplinary presence on campus. Yeah, if you want, it's a little bit like the exercise that we did a few years ago with the research flagships at UKZN. Yeah, that were also cross-disciplinary across schools, colleges, and involving the whole institution. Yeah, it will be a little bit an exercise like that. Yeah, and I already held a few of these talks with the current associates. Yeah, because they also felt maybe a little bit unsecure because they didn't really know what was going to happen. Yeah, and at some stage it was not obvious at all that NITheP would survive. Yeah, there were people that gave us already for dead. Yeah, but we emerged out of the crisis, and and I think the future is bright. Yeah, and for instance, to the current NITheP associates, I always ask them to please, we are already in this new home. Yeah, so it's our duty to welcome the others, yeah, and make them feel at home when they come in, yeah, and not have the attitude, you're coming in my house, I don't like you, yeah. So that will be the dead of everything, yeah. So my first step was first reaching out to the current associates and encourage them to be open and welcome the others in this new joint home, yeah. And we will also, pre-COVID, we would have organized meetings and things like that. Now we will try to do everything online, yeah. And the moment we will be able to meet physically again, we will do that. But it will probably take a little while, yeah. So,
but what you're saying is that charity begins at home. We need to organize ourselves first within the institution to look at the model and begin to build a similar model of collaboration between the different disciplines in order to make sure that we are better positioned for what might be a role in NITheCS going forward. Yes. So we sort of have a little bit of an advantage to get ahead of the curve if we actually start putting these things in place. Then I would like to hear from you. The other thing you mentioned is making sure that those who are in are bringing others with them. They are welcoming the others. They are not necessarily dropping the ladder behind them once they get in, right? All right. Happy, what would be your advice to us?
No, I think it's quite important what you indicated for UKZN is to start looking at how do you start looking at programs within the university. It could be from undergraduate to start getting programs also to be sort of interdisciplinary. But when one goes at research level, try to emphasize that part of multidisciplinarity. Right. Because obviously the funding, when you compete, you will be standing a better chance. And I think already you have got some, I think it's the institute now that has been dealing with the data science. You could see that those elements are already there. So it is to enhance those parts. And I think also already at the university, you have got a university computing cluster, because those are also some of the instruments that help people to come together to solve problems that are not one-dimensional and look at various domains. So I think that will help in assisting the collaboration.
Thank you so much. Francesco, I want to wrap it up here. It's 8:30 now, but take the moment to thank you so much, Happy. Thank you, Francesco and Ilya and all the participants. Really appreciate it. And I hope that, Francesco, you can take some of these ideas forward. And when we do meet, we can have a further discussion on these issues. Thank you so much, colleagues. Much appreciated. Final words, Francesco.
No, thank you very much, Moza, for being with us this morning. And maybe just one really final comment. I mentioned at the beginning that the training is important, yeah, and and how we train the new generation, yeah. One of the elements will be to train them in a multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary way, yeah, so that for the new generations that will take over NITheCS in the years to come, yeah, that they are already grown up in an environment that is multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary, yeah? So that the challenging that we are discussing now won't be a challenge anymore, because they won't know any other system. Yeah. And if you look where the world is going, those are the skills that we need. Yeah, people that are happy to work in complex teams with many aspects and many disciplines and many specializations. Yeah. And so that will be part of the mandate of NITheCS, to make sure that the next generation of academics has all those skills, yeah, so that some of the challenges that we face now might not be a challenge anymore in future. Yeah? So
sounds good. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone. I think let's call it a morning and have a good day and a good weekend. Much appreciated.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Bye.